I'm a Chef Ace champion. I'm a native of Louisiana. Anybody ever been to Louisiana before? Awesome. Some of the best food in the world, right? Yeah. You guys got the dairy, we got the other stuff, right? We'll come together. We're back. So anybody ever had Bananas Fosters before? Awesome. So when Karine came to me and told me that we were going to be doing Farm to Table, if you guys ever seen my show, which you haven't, but you will, my niche is I specialize in cooking with wine. Go figure, I'm at the Blessings of the Grapes, right? I also specialize in cooking with liquor too as well. Go figure, I'm in Wisconsin. You know what I said? Excuse me. So what I did with this one was I wanted to make sure that everything did come from the farm. So what we started off with is from bananas, which are grown in the farm. Brown sugar, which is from the pure cane grown in the farm, right? Moscato wine is what I'm using. Winery, that's kind of like a farm, right? And the best butter in the world from Wisconsin right here, right? All right. Only in Wisconsin you get clout for butter, right? You gotta love the butter. Yes. Amen to that. So before we get started, I just want to give you guys a little bit of meat and potatoes before you cook. How many people actually want to learn a little bit about cooking today? Awesome. I hope you do. So I like to share a little bit of my exercises with people because cooking can be challenging and it can be frustrating, correct? Yeah. Sometimes. So one of the main things that I like to do is give people advice from not only college but life too as well. So one of the things I'm going to share with you is all my ingredients all measured out. They call this mise en place. Say it with me. Mise en place. Fancy French word. It just means I have everything all together. I'm ready to go. How many people go into the kitchen and they start cooking and they go, sugar, okay, let me go in the cabinet and get sugar. Okay, eggs, let me go and get, raise your hand if you're in the, I know there's somebody in there. That's Bad News Bears. No Bears fan in the house, is there? Okay, I know where it was going. All right. Oh, yeah. No, well, I meant Bad News Bears like Yogi Bear, you know. There you go, that was a sick. So the problem with that is when you're cooking, in order to have a good cooking experience, you want to be able to enjoy cooking. There's not a restaurant on this earth that's going to do prep and cook at the same time. So why do we do it at home? Because guess what happens? We don't have eggs, right? We're knocking on the neighbor's door. I know I'm not the only one, right? I'm like, again, Ace? So make sure you have everything ready to go so that you can go ahead and get started. The second thing I'll share with you is called recipe research. So that means when you're looking at a recipe online, research multiple recipes. Don't just pull the first recipe off because kids can upload a recipe to YouTube. You know that, right? So just because it's online does not mean that it's a good recipe. So I do a technique called visual motor rehearsal. Say it with me. Visual motor rehearsal. It's a fancy word for just basically saying I know how to control my imagination. Because you know when you visualize, that's all you're really doing. A lot of time when we get to the kitchen, we go into the kitchen and we're trying to read the recipe and cook at the same time. That's kind of like that don't prep and cook at the same time kind of deal. So what I do is I read the recipe, each and every ingredient, and I actually visualize it in my mind. I role play. So it says sugar. I'm in the kitchen. I'm putting in the sugar. So if there's any discrepancies within that recipe, you'll catch them before you start. And there it takes away all the stress. Well, not all the stress, but at least a lot of the stress. So how many great cooks are in the house today? Okay, that's okay. That's okay. How many good cooks in the house? All right. I always tell people, I always get people, they're always like, I'm not a good cook. And I'm like, well, how often do you cook? Well, I don't cook. Well, maybe that's the reason why you're not a good cook. And I'm sorry, cooking one time a month for 20 years does not classify you to have 20 years of cooking experience. You have to get into the kitchen and cook. It's no longer called Bananas Fosters because I use Moscato wine, so now it's a caramel Moscato sauce. All right, there we go. All right. So traditional Bananas Fosters, they would have you put the butter in first. And I've made it a lot of times and it's kind of hit and miss. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So when I went to college, they told me butter is a finishing technique. You should always put the butter in last because isn't butter that's greatest when it's just starting to melt, it's nice and creamy. You butter lovers know what I'm talking about, right? Nice and creamy. So I was like, well, why don't I do that? It's because New Orleans is so traditional, they never changed it. So what happens when you put the butter in first, after about 30 seconds, 45 seconds, it's going to want to try and burn up on you. And burnt butter is not good. Once it burns, you're done. So if you you build the caramel sauce first and put the butter in last, it almost works almost every time. So the first thing we're going to do is put just a little bit of sugar in there. Oh, stop it. That's like just not even that much. Hey, and the thing I always tell people when they see me do this, I'm like, but it's natural. It was from the earth, so God put this here for us to eat, right? Forget about there's calories in everything. It's about portion control, right? Not in Wisconsin, right? Go big or go home, I heard. That's what they told me. I was telling Karina, I'm like, yeah, they could just take a scoop. No, give them 2 scoops. I'm like, okay. So the first thing that I'm doing is I'm basically waking up the sugars. Now I'm using brown sugar for a reason. Not because I'm brown. No, I'm just kidding. I was fighting myself. Don't say it, Ace, but it just came out anyway. It just came out anyway. No, it's because the dark brown sugar has molasses in it. And molasses is going to act as your thickening agent and help everything caramelize. So essentially all Bananas Foster is a homemade caramel with rum and banana liqueur in it. That's pretty much all it is. Yeah, and everything is natural. And you know, and I always tell people, when you put natural things in your body recognizes it and it knows how to process. I don't care if it has 1,000 calories, it will know how to process it. When you put fake stuff in your body, fake sugars, fake processed food, your body doesn't know how to process that. So that it stays. So I'd rather you eat real sugar. When you see real sugar and stuff, hey, that's a good thing these days, let me tell you. All right, so now I basically got my sugar woken up. This is about 1.5 pounds. I'm gonna add a little bit of banana liqueur. Banana liqueur is basically like a banana extract, if you would say. Like I said, traditionally we would use the rum, I would flambe it, but I just, you know, I didn't know, so I'm sorry if I disappointed anybody out there. All right, so now that I have that mixed in pretty nicely, I'm just gonna add a little bit of this wine. And I'm using Moscato wine. Right here in Wisconsin, locally sourced. A little bit in there, and then a little bit. No? He blessed the grapes. What are you guys talking about? All right then, come on. No, I'll pour a little more first, then I'll do that. If you say so, you say so. All right. These are blessed grapes, so we'll be okay, trust me. Yes, praise the Lord. Julia Child, I know. And it was funny because when I became a TV show host, I really didn't keep up with Julia Child. But because I cook with so much liquor and wine, they're like, you're the next Julia Child. I'm like, that's a woman. What are you talking about, right? But then when I seen her, hilarious. I'm like, yes, I am kind of like Julia Child. All right. So now I'm mixing it. And I know you guys probably can't see, but the people in front, they came here early, so they get all the good looks. Basically, it looks like a really, really, really thick caramel right now. So now I don't have to worry about the butter burning. So we're going to put that on there, and we're going to turn this up on high. And we're going to cook that until it starts to foam and come over. Now, I know when I went to college, a lot of these fancy French chefs, you know, they pull out all their gadgets and, well, it's got to be at 135 degrees. And then you ever see them use all those gadgets? Not Louisiana. We don't have those gadgets. We got a skillet in the stove. So I found out as long as it's the process of building the caramel keeps it from not having to burn. Because as you guys see, I have this on a medium high the whole time. And not once will I burn this. Unless I put the butter in first, which 99% of the recipes will tell you to do that. What is it called when I have all my ingredients all right here? You got it right here. Let's give them a hand clap. See me before the show and I'll sign it for you. It's only worth $12 right now, but one day it'll be worth a lot more. Yes. So now that this is coming up to a foam, the last thing that you want to add is good old Wisconsin butter.
Is that salted butter?
Oh, you better believe it's salted butter. I always use salted butter no matter what, even in my desserts. Because you ever see some of these desserts, they tell you to put a pinch of salt? Just use salted butter. And it's really not that salty. I mean, maybe if one of you diehard Wisconsinites like takes a bite and like eats this as a snack, you might taste the salt in it. But if you cook it, hey, he's like, I've done that before. Ain't nothing wrong with a little butter snack. All right. Anybody got, you guys are getting your Bananas Fosters okay? Okay, I don't hear nothing. Okay, all right, cool. So now we're putting in the butter last, and I just threw in about a half a stick of butter. If you guys go on the Champion Shrine recipe, or not recipe, but if you go on their website, I'm going to give them the actual recipe. They're recording this right now, so you'll be able to see it. So if you guys get home and get all frustrated, I don't remember what this guy said. Remember, there's no excuse, right? So you guys should. How many people are going to actually try and make this dish? Okay. I'll take 5 out of 100 all day long. Think outside the box. All right, and that's almost done. I want to do a little extra thing for you guys today too as well, because I do understand that cooking is just half the battle. A lot of times they see my recipes and they're like, Ace, you mean to tell me I gotta cut stuff? I gotta use a skillet? I'm like, yeah, you guys know there's no such thing as cooking if you're not using cooking utensils, right? You know, everything can't just be in the oven and then 45 minutes later you magically have dinner, right? There's no such thing. So one of the main things that people neglect is knife skills. And I mean that seriously, because even at my school, I hope they're not watching, but even some of the people who were teaching me, their skills were, I'm like, why is that? Because they're not practicing. You know, so practice, practice, practice. Cut your finger, put a Band-Aid on it. Don't go pouting on Facebook, because remember, we don't want to attract that. That's all part of it. When you cut yourself, that's part of it. But when you cut yourself or you make a mistake, you got to go back to the visualization process. Why did I cut myself? Why did I burn that, right? Don't just be like, I know some friends, they keep doing it over and over and over again. They're like, why? I'm like, well, you knew why the first time you did it, and you kept doing it 4 or 5 times. So figure out what you did wrong, and then you won't ever have to worry about that again. So the first one that I'm going to show you, watch, I'll do this one second, is mushrooms. And don't pay attention to the mushroom, just pay attention to the technique. How many people use this little guy in the kitchen? Don't even lie today. Come on, y'all. This is a sin-free plate. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. No one wants to admit to this. I call this grandma knife. No offense if the men raise their hands, but this is what my grandma used to use and what my mom still uses till this day. Super dangerous, right? She's peeling a potato like, Mom, you know we got potato peelers down. Really sick, you know. The problem with this knife is you can't even cut through the vegetables that you need to cut through. So you end up with all these ununiform pieces. You ever have that? Some are this big, some are that big. You don't want that. You want them to all be uniform. So if you ever wonder why grandma takes 9 hours and 10 hours to cook on Thanksgiving, it's because she spends 6 hours using this knife. So get the right knife. This is an 8-inch chef knife. If you have some, huh? You have to sharpen them, right, because a sharp knife is a safe knife. A dull knife is actually more dangerous because that knife is going to want to slip on the product. Very, very important. So the proper way to hold it, your 3 fingers are underneath the handle, your index finger's on the blade, your thumb, and your thumb is on the blade. In this hand, anybody know what this is called? The claw. Who's the culinary genius over there? The purpose of that is your fingertips are curled underneath. Why? So you don't cut them off. The tip of the knife is pinned up against my actual knuckle, so that it actually acts as my guide. So I'm actually acting as a human mandolin. So I don't have that little ring man. You ever do the little ring man paper and they're like 15 pieces stuck together? You ever have that happen with vegetables before? That's not pretty. You know what I mean? You might get away with it when you're cooking for your neighbor or you cook for your husband. I learned the hard way. Once you charge people, they notice all that stuff right away. So your motion when you're cutting is always a rocking motion. If the product is low enough, you never have to pick the knife up off the board. Every time I pick that knife up, I risk maybe cutting myself. So go home and just do this for about an hour. Boy, you can pray for an hour. Why can't you do this while you pray, right? You can do that while you pray. Come on now.
You gotta resharpen the knife.
You gotta resharpen the knife. So basically, all you're doing is pulling the knife high enough to get over the product, and then you're just gonna slice, just like so. And I'm keeping the tip of the knife on my finger so I know where I'm at, so that I know I can get equal pieces all the way through. So when it gets to where it's pretty close to my finger, I'm like, what do I do now? I fold that over, and now I have about 3 times the room to work with, and I just finish that off just like so. Show you one more. Or you can do what a lot of people else do. Who does that? Don't you do that no more. And then also when I'm doing this, look at my body posture. I'm not standing straight up, my spine's not straight. I'm positioning myself so I'm extremely comfortable. You want to be comfortable when you have a Wüsthof German steel sharp blade in your hand. You do not want to be awkward. So get comfortable, tighten up your stomach muscles. It will not give you a 6-pack, but it helps ground you in that area. It does. So you just want to slice again. Pull that over. Just like that. Did you say miracle knife there?
Hail Mary, full of grace.
marriage slurs with you?
Oh, she's praying for me. All right. I'll take it. I'll take it. And then if you're in a hurry because you just got off work, you know, husband's like, where's my dinner? Wife's like, these days, wife's like, where's my dinner? You know how it is. That's how my wife is. You chop, and the chopping motion is all in your wrist. I'm not using my elbow. I'm not using my arm. It's literally all in the wrist. Uh-oh. Did I get a soft one? Yeah, it's sharp, but I tried to be, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I tried to be cheap when I went to the grocery store and I got the ones that were, you know, almost gone. No, they were soft. So that's why when I'm trying to hit it, it's not cutting through right away. I know. Stop being cheap, right, Ace? Go big or go home. I should know that by now. So I'm going to show you guys how to cut garlic. And I know there's somebody in the house. First of all, you guys like garlic? Yeah. Super, super good for you. Really healthy for you. I have high blood pressure. It's definitely good for your blood pressure. I'm not a fan of the garlic press because the garlic press is going to, who's got a garlic press? Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm calling everybody now today. When you use a garlic press, you smash the garlic, you release all the juice, which is its flavor, right? And then if you ever look in there, you lose all those little bitty holes, you lose that garlic, right? So like, no, I just take a toothpick and be a cheapo and get it off. No, don't do that. It's too much work, too much work. So what you want to do with the garlic is you want to slice it first, and you should be able to get about 25 slices out of each garlic. If you can't get 25 slices out of each garlic, you know what you got to do? Practice. Or watch. I'm like, you guys say it wrong again. All right. So you can count for me, sir. Who's counting for me? Is anybody counting for me? No? And she prayed for me already. I'm good. I'm good.
44.
Once it gets down to the edge, fold that over, slice it again. So essentially what I'm doing, I'm trying to slice it as thin as possible. So when I slice it again, I don't have to sit there for 5 minutes trying to chop garlic. The thinner you get the garlic, the more potent it's going to be on your dish. I'm going to turn that at a 90-degree angle. So essentially whenever I want diced, I slice it once and then I slice it again. And then I have diced, just like that. Just like that. Yes, ma'am. Mint? Yeah, mince is farther along. So you have dice, you have small dice. Mince is basically, it's so fine. You know, and the smaller you dice, the more potent it's going to be. So now when you get it rough chopped, I know you've seen people put their hand on the top of it. You've seen some of the shows. Who's seen that on the Food Network? Yeah, you watch the Food Network, right? So you do like cooking shows. All right. I don't like doing that because literally I'm missing 80% of the product. That's why they cut to a commercial, because it took them 10 minutes to cut that one piece of garlic. So I chop through it. By chopping through it, now I'm chopping through a pile of garlic. So same concept. I'm bringing the garlic back into my little area. So every time I chop through the garlic, I'm actually chopping through a pile of garlic. Capiche? All right, you guys just looking. All right, and there you have it. All right, thank you. So I do have a spoon. If you guys can kind of see what I'm working with, I'll do a slow pour for the camera. Now you see how it kind of looks like it's foaming? It's called coagulation. That's a good thing. That means everything is working together. If you don't see that foam, everything's not bonding together. Because essentially we're trying to take 4 ingredients and make 1 ingredient. So we just got to make sure you cut that out. And then the last thing that we would add is take a banana. Yeah, and it just pops out just like so. So then what I do is I slice that banana in half. Slice that banana in half, slice that banana in half, and we're just going to visualize, I know this is mushroom, but we're going to visualize that this is an actual scoop of ice cream. We'll put 1 piece of banana on each side. We'll drizzle the bananas Foster or the caramel Moscato sauce over that, and then top it with your favorite nuts. I topped it with pecans today because just pecans go great with caramel. So, all right, good news. I think that's it. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and close this down. That's my slogan at the end of the show. Just always remember to try and stay positive. And then one day, you too will be cooking like a champion. That's my slogan. That's my show. That's all I got. Thank you.